Ho, ho, ho. Hey, everybody. Brother Ed here. Again, Aaron, I'm not Santa Moss. But yeah, those that know me from my Headcast network knows me as Brother Head or Aaron Moss. I'm here today to talk a little bit for my friend Damon. He's got his own podcast, which you're listening to this on, the Fandom Entanglement. Fandom Entanglement, make sure I say that right. And he asked me to talk a little bit about the Sliders episode, season 3, episode 12, season's greetings. So I said, sure, I enjoy talking about Sliders. I was on his show, been on the show a couple times talking about it. Excuse me. So here I am again. Anyways, so again, as you know, I said my name's Aaron Moss, and we're here to talk about, as I said, Sliders season 3, episode 12, season's greetings. This was directed by Richard Compton, written by Eleah Horwitz, excuse me for butchering that. And this first aired December the 20th, 1996. And again, from Wikipedia, the synopsis for this: the Sliders land on a world dominated by commercialism and get jobs working in a giant mall in the sky 2 days before Christmas. They later discover that the workers are basically indentured servants, and Arturo attempts to prevent one worker from abandoning her infant child. Wade connects with the doubles of her father and sister, who Wade attempts to get away from the owners of the mall. Rembrandt starts to buy loads of Christmas gifts uncharacteristically. And that is Season's Greetings. So let me give my thoughts on this. Again, this probably will be very long, but we'll see. I was going to try to get some of my fellow Joes or other people I've podcasted with, but things didn't work out, so I'm here alone today. Again, I've talked about the show Sliders before with Damon and Mike, so I won't go too much into my thoughts on Sliders as a whole. But again, this was season 3. This was before they changed networks or whatever it was. Again, I forget the details now, but I know that like season 4, they changed like networks and they moved locations and everything. And to me, that's kind of when it started to go downhill, but we'll get to that in the future. For season 3 again, and I know I'm going to probably be a little bit more easier on this than Damon or Mike would be, because again, I've been with them before and I tend to like Sliders. I don't want to say I like it more than them, but I'm a little easier on it. Again, that's one of my faults, is that if I like a show, I can hand wave a lot of bad stuff or I can excuse it. Just listen to my Starbright Project podcast and you'll see a lot of that there where I hand wave away things. But as I said, so this episode has kind of like 3 different stories. There's Arturo attempting to find the mother of an infant child that was handed to him at the beginning of the episode. And in doing so, Rembrandt has his own little story where he starts, he's watching TV and they end up in basically this mall world where this entire floating mall where people live and work and just exist there. Rembrandt starts buying loads of Christmas gifts, and he just becomes obsessed, and scarily so. So far that he pushes Quinn out of the way, and he gets crazy with it. And the other part of the story is Wade meets up with the doubles of her father and her sister. And again, anyone that listens to the Starbright Project, my show about the Quantum Leap, they know that I love the episodes that deals with Sam or Al's personal life or something with the project. Same way here. We get some backstory and some more information on Wade. So that alone makes this a great episode for me. However, I end up rating it, and whatever Damon, Mike, and whoever else talks about this thinks, this is a great episode just because it delves into, and it gives a little backstory about Wade. I know she's mentioned family before, but now we actually get to see her father and sister, even though it's not really her father and sister. And I've got to say, whoever picked these, in my opinion, maybe I'm half blind, so maybe I'm wrong, but the gal that played Kelly Wells, Wade's sister, was played by Chase Masterson. And I thought that the casting director did a fantastic job of casting her. I mean, looking at her regular picture, she's a blonde. Here they dyed her hair this reddish brunette, whatever it is, to look more like Sabrina. I think that Chase and Sabrina look quite a bit alike in this episode. I can see even though not, it's going to sound weird, but they're not related. But I can see a family resemblance. To me, they look like sisters. So I thought the casting there was top notch. Also, real quick on the casting, the gal who played Carol, the gal that left her baby for Arturo and took off. Uh, Her name's Jacqueline Borders, and she looked very familiar. I looked up on IMDb because I was curious, and she's been in a lot of things I've seen, but she's not who again, I don't know who I thought she was. She looked very familiar, like another actress, but she just has that kind of face, I guess, that resembles other people, I guess, because I've seen some of the shows she's in, but that's none of the shows I was thinking about. And then the other person that was in here had kind of a major point was, I don't see him. I was looking for, there it is. Don Wells, her dad, was played by Alan Williams. Again, I like the casting all around. I thought this was a good episode. So I'm jumping around. Let's go ahead and break down each part we're talking about. So again, Arturo is trying to find the worker that abandoned her infant child. Again, the gal that left her child, her name was Carol, which I guess is very fitting for a Christmas episode. And Arturo finds out that, she's working at this mall in the sky. And as they're there, we find out a little bit about the society. And again, it's very much, you buy. Working here, you've got to spend so much of your money at the mall. You've got to do this, you've got to do that, which only leaves them like $20 a month or whatever when they're done. And they encourage people to buy on credit. And if you can't pay it back, they make you wear a bracelet so they kind of keep track of you and they can shock you, whatever. And you're basically a slave at that point for them. Because like I said in the episode, you don't have much money when you're done paying for what you have to pay for anyways. And so they keep making you buy stuff, more and more stuff. And I think part of this episode is a commentary on our reality that, I don't think we listened to this episode and took its advice like they wanted us to. Instead of hearing, this is a bad idea, I think we've leaned more into the commercialism as the years go by. People getting further in debt. And I think this episode's kind of trying to tell us that, you don't need to go in debt for like the holidays or for whatever reason. Your love is what, people want. And you shouldn't be going into debt and spending this crazy money buying all this stuff. So I do like that commentary that the episode has. And I thought it was handled very well for being Sliders. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was a 90s cheesy sci-fi TV show, but I think they handled the subject matter about commercialism and how bad it can be. I thought it was handled very well. Maybe just me. Also, this episode, like I said, Rembrandt was buying loads of gifts. We find out that the people behind the scenes are basically playing subliminal messages, making people want to buy more, spend more. And again, I know, and this was the mid 90s when this came out, or late 90s. Let me see, it was 96. It was the starting of the later half of the 90s. And I know in the 80s, subliminal messages was a big thing. And so here we are, the late 90s or mid late 90s, and we're still dealing with, shows dealing with subliminal messages in advertising. And again, that's another problem that we face. Again, I don't know how much it's comes to bear nowadays in reality, but over a while there was rumors that, they were playing these subliminal messages, trying to make you buy more. I know the Christians had a big thing, backtracking music, whatever, playing records backwards, your music from or words from the devil and all that. But I just like the fact that, again, Rembrandt, he thinks he plays it very well as he's buying more and more gifts, and he's just getting frenzied. I got to buy, he's counting, I got 34, 32. Well, I've only got Wade 32 gifts. I got to buy her more gifts. And Quinn's like, no, you don't need to buy us anything. Again, he's not thinking clearly because, again, of all those little messages. But again, yeah, they're sliding. They're going to be leaving this world in a day or two. They can't carry all this stuff with them. But when you start messing with people's minds, you kind of I don't know. Reason goes out the window at that point. So I thought that was handled very well. Uh, a little heavy-handed, maybe, but again, for what it was, again, a cheesy '90s sci-fi show. I enjoyed it. I thought it played out very well. Again, you're what's going on with Rembrandt? Why is he getting so maniacal about this? And then we find out that it's subliminal advertising. Oh, that makes sense. And then the other part of the show dealt with Wade. Again, we don't. As she talks like there's some sort of problem or something between her father and her sister on our Earth because she like she hadn't seen him in a while. And unless I missed something, we don't get any more on that as far as exactly what happened there. If I missed it, let me know. But I don't know what the dilemma between them was. But from what I'm getting on this episode, there was some sort of problem, and she hadn't seen him in a while, and so she had a chance here to see her father and her sister. And in this reality, there is no Wade because apparently we find out that her mom died during childbirth, giving birth to Wade, and so they both died during the childbirth. So, and I like that, whenever she's trying to hold back from, telling her dad and sister who she really is until she actually tells her sister what's going on. But the only problem, in quotes, I have, but I can talk myself out of it, is that I think Don, her dad, took to her a little too quickly. But then again, since in another reality, this is his daughter and a daughter he lost, I think maybe there's that connection he feels for that. So why I sort of had a problem with it, I can kind of talk myself out of it by just, basically saying, well, again, this is a daughter that he didn't have that, and he maybe feels that, I don't want to say psychic connection really, but they feel some sort of connection between them, which will explain why he's willing to, I'm trying to think of the right word. He goes for her, not goes for her in a creepy way, but he feels that familial connection with her. So, and again, I like that, she was able to tell her sister here what's going on, that, that they're sliders, that they're from another reality, and that I'm really your sister. And that was just a very good Christmas episode. Because again, it's got some heart, it's got some soul in it, but it's also got, it's preaching against the bad things about subliminal messages and about commercialism during the holidays. I thought that the writers on this did a fantastic job kind of wrapping that up into an episode. Again, the acting, for the most part, I mean, there was some that it gets a little cheesy at times, but overall, I enjoyed it. During the show, again, Quinn mentions that he lost his father when he was 11 years old, which we've talked about, or he's talked about before on the show. And I'm just looking at earthprime.com to get some information on this, what I want to talk about. And again, also, like I say, we get this episode's very Wade heavy, but like I said, we find a little bit about Quinn. We find out a little bit from Arturo when he's talking to Carol about, how he lost his mom and his dad was away, and how he had been in an orphanage for a while until his dad, came back for him after the war was over. And he finds out, he talks about the Christmas of 1945, where his father gave him a blue handmade wooden car because that's all he really afford. But it was the best he could ever be given. I'm going to tear up here. And that's, again, it's going toward that message of, again, Arturo is telling this, about his past, trying to connect with Carol and explain why, a baby needs its parents. But it's also kind of touching on the theme of commercialism and how, he's saying that my father didn't have anything. There was a war going on. All he could give me this little, basically a crap car that he made for me. And I loved it. It was the best gift I ever got. Which kind of, tells you, homemade gifts are better than store-bought ones. Because when you make something, especially when you make it from the heart, that means something more than going out to Walmart and buying, a toy off the shelf or whatever you buy, an ornament or whatever you buy off the shelf at Walmart. Again, Wade talks about when she's trying to convince Kelly who she is, that Kelly found a gift when she was 9. I guess she's lucky that this reality was so close to theirs that still happened. Because I mean, if Wade wasn't in the picture. Who knows, if the father would have been different, or maybe Wade or Kelly wouldn't have found it. I thought that was a little convenient, but again, it happens in these type of shows. But I do like that, she did mention about the boy that, that kissed her, or she kissed him or whatever. I think she kissed him. And, that was her first boyfriend. And here he said, well, no, he ran away before I got a chance to do that. And so again, while it lines up, there are some differences. And not necessarily anything from what was doing there that caused the differences, but it does show that there are some differences from Earth Prime and this Earth that they're on now. And again, I don't know if there's a name for this world. Oh, Mall World. Again, when they leap in, I guess they came from Pygmy World. Again, I'll touch on that briefly. The world visits Pygmy World. Again, we don't know much about that other than Wade apparently smiled at one of the locals and wound up being, they wanted to bear bear his children, and then they go to Mall World. So, and I do like they give each of these worlds names. And I keep saying Seasons Greetings, but Seasons Greetings, Greedings, because again, greed's big, greed is good, and all that. So, again, I keep mistyping it as greetings, but yeah, if I look closely, it's a D, not a T. EET or EED instead of EAT. So again, I kept missing that when I was looking at it. I just looked at it briefly and I kept misreading it because you expect greetings. But so again, it's a clever name, Seasons Greetings, taking Seasons Greetings. And I know it's hard probably for you to tell the difference the way I'm saying it, but there's that slight difference. And I like the way that they sound alike. Another small issue I had with the episode was that when they took a picture of the group, Carol was in there with the baby, and Kelly took the picture. I think it was Kelly took the picture. When I think Kelly and Wade should have been in the picture of the dad, and maybe Carol could have took the picture or taken two or something, because I think it would have been nice for Wade to have take two pitch copies or whatever. That way Wade and Kelly can both have a copy of a family portrait, in quotes, that they're never going to have again. So, or at least Kelly and Don won't have a chance to have this type of portrait again. And I'll do also, I almost missed this, almost mentioning this. I do like that, when they were talking and they're going up the escalator and Wade's getting you can tell Wade's getting frustrated with the sliding around. And she's like, I'm never going to see my family again. And he's like, well, we're going to make it home. It's like, when? The next sleep after that? In a year, 100 years? When we're going to make it home finally? And I don't know if I'm supposed to go into spoilers, but spoilers for the end of this show. No, I'm not going to go into spoilers. I'll just say that it's fitting that she's mentioning this, and anyone that's watched the show through the entirety knows how it ends up. And I don't know if a lot of it ended up the way it is just because of the changes, and it was canceled probably before its time. But that's talk for another episode, another time. But overall, I say this was a good show. I enjoyed it. I don't have a lot more to say about it, really. I enjoy talking about these other people because I get more to talk about, and I get other people talking about it. But I'm just scrolling through looking to see anything else I want to talk about real quick. Yeah, nothing's really to say about this as far as I want to go right now. Again, this is going to be just a shorter episode. It's just me talking about it, but I enjoyed it. So I know Damon and Mike give it something out of 10 whatevers. So I think it's 10. So I'm going to rate it for 10 out of 10. And I'm going to give it 8.5 wrist bracelets out of 10. So that's my rating on this episode. If Damon and Mike don't like halfsies, some people don't. I enjoy them, but if they don't, I'd round it up to a 9, but 8.5, those bracelet things that shock you when you try to leave the area out of 10. So again, this has been fun. I enjoyed talking about this episode. I enjoyed watching this episode again. I want to thank both Damon and Mike for having me on the show again. Even though I'm not with them today, I am on their show, so I appreciate it, guys. and more from me, check out the Headcast Network. The best place to go is headcast.headspeaks.com. I've got my shows. Headspeaks is my main one, where I talk about anything geeky. Right now, I'm covering the Grant Morrison comic book series, Animal Man. I also have my G.I. Joe, a Real American Headcast, where I talk about the comic book and the cartoon G.I. Joe from the late 80s, early 90s, and anything G.I. Joe related. And also, kind of tangentially related to this show, as I mentioned previously, the Starbright Project. Currently, it's on hold, but that's a show where the wife and I, with a friend of ours from Australia, look at the TV show Quantum Leap, and we talk about it. Again, that show's on hold right now as we kind of determine what we're doing with it. But you can check out the Headcast Network for more information on that, available on most fine podcatchers, and the episodes are also on the website. But I guess that's going to do it for today. Until next time, again, thank you guys for having me, and I want you guys to have a Merry Christmas and a Happy, Happy New Year.